Welcome back to Disc Media, a startup story, the podcast where I take you along our journey of starting Disc Media from the ground up. You get to hear all about our challenges and accomplishments as we either grow Disc Media or go bust. Either way, you're going to have a front row seat to hear it all. And along the way, we're going to have some special guests who share with us their wisdom and insights and what helped them along their startup journey to success. So get ready as we get into it and try to help those get better at what they do. Welcome back, everybody, to Disc Media, a startup story, the podcast where I take you along my journey of starting Disc Media from the ground up. And after 2.5 years, it's been a little bit hectic at times, a little bit depressing at times. But I have to say, last couple of weeks, I've been really energized by some of the things that we're doing and the overall direction that we're going. This past week, I had the opportunity to attend an event here in Atlanta called VidFest 2025. And VidFest was inspiring. Like the people I met, the overarching message of things. I'm going to give you guys my honest review of VidFest. And for anybody who might be interested in doing that event or PodFest or any of the associated fests put on by this organization, I highly recommend. I'm gonna leave it there for now because I want to get into a lot of stuff. Most notably, as you all know, what we do each week is go over the numbers of our social media. We're putting a more focused effort on everything, all of the platforms that make sense for us to run on, hoping that we get more traction. And I have to say, I think the strategy is starting to work. I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. So let's go ahead and go over the numbers, and then we'll dive into some of the articles that we did this week, tell you a little bit more about VidFest, and then we'll call it a wrap. So over the past 30 days, the website traffic has gone down a little bit. As I mentioned, I was expecting that because we had some anomalous spikes that occurred earlier. And I knew that we were going to take a downturn. However, over the last couple days, and I'm not sure if this is our podcast strategy, I'm not sure if it's some tweaks that I've made recently on the back end, but we've had a couple days of really good upward trending traffic, like some larger spikes than I've seen in quite some time. So I'm hoping this strategy that we're putting together is working, but time will tell. Sometimes I get really excited because I see a good bump and then, it just falls off a cliff. It's really hard to judge things, but I will say this. Our trajectory is upward and positive. Now, the slope may not always look like a tremendous uphill climb. Sometimes it's just a mild grade, if you will, but it's moving and it's moving up and it continues to do so. And you know what? I'm happy with it. I'll take it. So we are down to 845 users, a little bit off of our 1,000 a month. But I do feel like we're going to be back up there really soon. Maybe next update, we'll see some of those numbers that I'm noticing pull through. Page views, 1,278. We've got 1,003 sessions overall on the website. As it relates to Facebook and the 3 pages that I post out to on Facebook, Daily Pitch Disc Media, and then my consulting business, Satisfactionist, 245 views across our content there. The videos that have been getting published on social media, I think people are really digging the videos, and I'm glad. I when you're doing a podcast, and I've recently kind of switched to video podcasting, it the audio stuff I think is good, but I think when people get an opportunity to see you, like you're seeing the face behind the voice, and sure, it might be a face for radio, but it's still here. I think people are just getting a chance to see you, to know you, like to get a little bit more personal visually. So that's kind of nice. That said, the videos are getting some engagement on Facebook. We had a total of 245 views. The interactions, though, are starting to increase as well. So just on the daily pitch alone, we had an increase of 452%. Because we're putting out video content now, and it's not just articles. So the videos, they're working. I love it. Okay. Going on to Instagram, 1,357 views over the past 30 days. And what's even great about that, even better, I would say, 99% of those views are people who don't follow us currently. So they're getting introduced to the Daily Pitch and our articles and what we're doing here. And so, I'm not yet seeing it in like podcast listens or things like that, but people, I think, are digging the short clips. So we're going to keep doing it. When it comes to LinkedIn, when we kind of look at all impressions, I tend to post on my personal profile, but also through the Dist Media page. 1,262 impressions on the content I've been putting out. So people are, again, looking at the videos. Of those impressions, 416 on reach. As far as Dist Media, 306 impressions with more reactions, more likes, more comments on the things that we're putting out there. So all of that, again, trending in a good direction. TikTok, 593 views over the past 30 days. We've gotten more profile views. We're getting more likes. We're getting even some shares along the way. And lastly, we have X. X is, I'm not even going to cover threads anymore. We still publish the threads, but I'm not even going to read the numbers. X is almost in that same camp. For whatever reason, we're just not finding good traction on X. It's fine. We'll get there. But for now, we've got 36 tweets that went out. 6 people favorited those tweets. So not bad, but it didn't result in any new followers. So, again, not great. Now, one metric that I kind of skipped over here, let me go back to it because it's one that I am pretty encouraged about, and that's YouTube. In fact, VidFest focused a lot on YouTube, and through some things that I learned there, and I tried something, a little bit of a tip that I got, and I think there's some pluses and minuses about this tip. I'm definitely not going to deploy it long term. I kind of tested it out. I boosted a video that we had, and I used a little bit of technique that was shared that would boost views and boost subscriptions. And it worked. Put a video out last week, over 2,000 views, got 208 subscriptions off of it. Phenomenally effective. However, there's some downsides. I'm not going to get too much into it now because I want to try out a few things, test a few things. I don't think next week in my next update, you're going to see a tremendous growth in more new subscribers, but I am going to be putting a more focused attention on SEO optimizing the content that we're doing on YouTube and really trying to organically grow it there. So I'm going to take the little bump that we got, gives us a little bit of social proof, but at the same time, I'm not necessarily going to do this long term. And by the way, in case you're wondering, no, I did not buy subs. This was a promoted video that I did through YouTube, right? So I did it through YouTube. I didn't use any outside source. There's no bot farms going in and being subscribers. This is all legit, above board. But I don't necessarily know it's going to grow my audience in the direction I want it to, even though it was a tremendous bump. I'll just leave it at that for now. So anyway, that is the update on the social media and where we are at. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at articles. These are some of the articles we put out over the past week. I would appreciate it, you guys, if you, as you hear these topics, if you hear something you're interested, as you want to dive into the meat of these articles a little bit more, go to dailypitch.news. If you don't see the article on the front page, just put it in the search. You will definitely find it there, and give it a read. If you really like the content, share it with a friend. That would be amazing. Always very appreciative of any of those things. All right. As it relates to articles, story number 1, Beyond the CEO, why tomorrow's businesses need multiple chiefs. So traditionally in business, we have CEO, CFO, COO, And those job titles, legacy job titles, have been around for a long time. But as technology pushes us in new directions, we are seeing companies come up with more innovative and, albeit, titles that help improve and focus senior leaders on very specific tasks and roles within the organization. A good example of that is Microsoft. Microsoft created a position called Chief AI Officer, very much in tune with where we're going. Everything that is AI falls under the purview of the chief AI officer. And I think as certain businesses grow and evolve, we need to rethink some of those names and what we call people, what we title people, what we saddle them with as far as roles and responsibilities in the organization. So, good article if you're an organization that is innovative, that is new, that is changing the landscape. Maybe consider creating some new and inventive titles to take you to that next level. The next article we have is around adaptive leadership. And the reason why this article is something that is important to think about is because we are innovating quicker, because technology is impacting us in ways that we could not have imagined 25, 30 years ago, companies are having to pivot quicker and more often than in the past. You look at a company like Netflix. Netflix started out mailing DVDs to individuals. Then they kind of moved into Blu-rays. Then, right on the tails of that, streaming. And now, they completely shut down the core thing that got them started. And by the way, Netflix isn't even that old of a company. Amazon started out with, books and CDs and mailing them to you, and now does everything from data centers to pharmaceuticals to grocery stores. Businesses are evolving and changing, and that's really what this article dives into, is how leaders need to be more adaptive in this rapidly transforming environment that we're in. All right, the next article that we have is around leadership flux and how reinvention powers change, transformation, and agility. Leadership, for the most part these days, are kind of four key areas that leaders tap into. One is being a transformational leader, moving people from one state of mind, if you will, to another, right? Being inspirational. Another motive that a lot of leaders use is being adaptive. We're changing quickly, and you have to be quick and you have to be adaptive to the new things that are on the horizon. Being able to not only lead change, but manage change. And those two things are 3 and 4 when it comes to those leadership models that are probably most desired these days. So, being transformational, being adaptive, being a change leader, and being a change manager, all of those things really, really desirable as organizations work to improve who they are, how they serve customers, and how they move ahead. And the last article in the roundup this week is around having difficult conversations with people. And that's just one of those things that is never fun for managers, but definitely something that we all have to go through. The article is called How Leaders Can Navigate Performance Conversations Without Damaging Employee Morale. And that is really the important part of it. At one point or another, we're going to have to deliver some news that is not great. There are conversations that are necessary. It's important that managers not only learn how to have those conversations, but not leave the conversation in a way that ultimately demotivates workers. So, if you're interested in finding out some insights about how to improve some of those conversations, how to make them a little bit more impactful without losing your audience, the motivation of your workers, give that article a read. All right, so next let's transition into VidFest. So I became aware of VidFest as I was scrolling through Facebook, going through, saw an ad, and it said, attend this event called VidFest. And because recently I've gotten back into, I should say, posting videos and putting some of this content out there, I was curious. So I click on the link, and they're often a really great rate to attend the event. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. So I went on the website, started reading through, and I have to say, initially, I was not aware of everybody who was there. Some people I had heard of, but the tone that I got was that this was definitely not your influencer TikTok kind of people. These were business people. These were people focused on growing reach, growing their business, and showing you how to do that using platforms like YouTube to get that done. So after reading through some of the people that were going to be there, I really got interested. I had a question that I reached out to the folks at Podfest about. They were really great about getting back to me. And I finally decided, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Like, I have no idea what's in store. I've never been to anything like this before. I have to say, I was really concerned that it was going to be a lot of Gen Z people who are going to be on their phone and half listening the whole time. Completely wrong. I mean, the people who were there were actively and excitedly trying to share with you what they do and what they have done to grow their YouTube channels. Some of the people that were there had millions of followers. Some of the people there only had a few hundred followers, but all of them had really good stories to tell about how they leverage YouTube, how they leverage this creator economy that we're in to grow their businesses. And now, as I mentioned, some of the people that only had a few hundred followers weren't necessarily speakers. Some of them were just people I met in the room. But overall, really, really valuable stuff. So, one of the people who spoke several times at the event, a gentleman by the name of Roberto Blake. Some of you probably have heard of Roberto Blake. Roberto was amazing. The information that he provided was spot on. He gave 3 different talks. Interestingly enough, used the same slides for each talk, but the content that he spoke about in each presentation was different, yet it still matched the slide. So that was pretty genius. But Roberto's been doing this for a long time. He's definitely very skilled, really knowledgeable about what he talked about, and really shared some good insight and information about how to stand out, how to grow your channel. Also had the opportunity to listen to Gabe Aluisy. I believe I'm pronouncing Gabe's name correctly. Gabe runs a golf equipment review channel on YouTube. Gabe is so influential in his niche that manufacturers reach out to him to review their stuff, that he is actively going to trade shows. As a matter of fact, he's even got his own branded putter that he worked on creating with a manufacturer out of Japan. Gabe was amazing. Gave some really good analytical insights on his channel, how he gets to the numbers he's gotten to, ways to read and understand your data, how that data translates into information that you can use to grow and change and revamp your channel. Great stuff. I couldn't possibly go through the list of everybody because there were a ton of people that spoke. We went Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and from a good 9-10 hours Friday and Saturday, and about half day on Thursday. So many people. I will tell you, one of the challenges I have had since starting Dist Media is finding people who are as excited and enthusiastic about doing this as I am. When you have something that you're really into, it's really great to be able to share that passion, that interest with other people. It's why Comic-Con is successful. It's why book clubs are successful. When you start talking to people my age about YouTube, about doing videos, about running a website, it is not something that many people my age are into. As a matter of fact, I even talk to people younger than me about this. I talk to my kids about this. And again, passive interest, not necessarily interested in the same way that I'm interested in. So, for many months, I will say, really, since I kind of started this thing, my board, I will never say a bad thing about these folks. But will also say that I definitely get more excited about this stuff than they do. They are great advisors and they've given me a lot of good information, tips, leads. Do not discount it at all. But when I'm talking about creating video, coming up with content ideas, SEO optimization, tweaking X, Y, or Z about my page, about my channel, about social media stuff, I don't really get the engagement or the feedback that I would love to get. And so I found my crowd. Like I found and connected with so many people that I finally was like, "Oh wow." Like they get it. They understand. They go when I talk to them about things, there's no need to get them up to speed on anything. They're right there. And as a matter of fact, they're way beyond me. So, um, couple people that I ran into that I thought were had just amazing feedback. A couple things that really kind of, made me pause, made me really think hard about a couple things. So I'm going to give a couple shout outs to some people that I met, even if I didn't spend a lot of time with these people or just gave a passive, hey, really enjoyed your talk. These are the people who really impacted me. So number one, Roberto, and in no particular order, right? So Roberto, Gabe Aluisy, Lisa Lamontenga, learned a lot from listening to how she approaches her YouTube metrics. Ben Albert, who gave a great presentation, but not only that, following, had a chance to meet him in the hallway. He followed up later, invited me to a networking group, just attended a meeting earlier this week of that group. Ben has been amazing. Like just and again, met people who genuinely wanted to meet you, hear about what you're doing, and share also what they do. So a lot of good information there. Also met a very nice gentleman. He wasn't presenting. I actually sat at a table with him for a couple of days, Gerardo. And Gerardo was a chief talent officer. Again, we were talking about titles and different titles for organizations these days, but he was there kind of scouting some YouTube talent because he runs a podcast network and they are transitioning into YouTube. So great, just a great guy. Had some really good conversations with him. But I will tell you, there's one gentleman who I spoke to who really stopped me in my tracks. And he stopped me in my tracks because we were having a casual conversation and he asked me a question that I embarrassingly have to say I did not have a good answer for. His name was Brandon Berkmeyer. And Brandon asked me, "What do I sell?" And I hem and hawed around that for a moment because, as I've shared with you guys before, we haven't really made much revenue. I'm still honing the products, if you will. After sitting in a room full of these people and understanding their product strategies, it reinvigorated my focus on what my product strategy should be. But in the moment when he asked me, "What do you sell?" I'm like, "Information? Like I give away stuff. I really don't sell anything yet." It was a terrible, terrible answer. And I was struggling, like visibly struggling to answer this question. And as somebody who has surrounded themselves with knowledge around business, have worked my way to getting a PhD, have started this business, have worked for big businesses, my entire life. And here I am struggling to talk about what is our product. And, that hit me like a ton of bricks. It's not that we don't have products, but we need revenue generating products. And that's what came into laser focus in that moment. I've spent so much time building the website, building the platform, focusing on social media. I don't want to say I forgot, but I completely lost focus on the fact that, oh, yeah, we need to sell some stuff here too. So, anyway, Brandon, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure meeting you. Listening to the talk was great. Having that hallway conversation, inspiring, and looking forward to keeping in touch with a lot of folks. Now, a couple other people, a few other people that I just can't leave out. I had an opportunity to meet Bernadette Joy. She's a financial commentator, we'll say. Bernadette was amazing. A gentleman by the name of Ramsey Rizard. Ramsey's was man, this guy energy to the max. Like he came in, had an amazing amount of content to share about what are we doing here with our channels, like we're creators, and he just really did a really good job of sharing all of that with everybody. So that too, another great talk. And then somebody I had the opportunity to connect with that is actually local here to Atlanta, Robin Nathaniel. Robin, again, great speaker. He's done TED Talks. Robin was amazing. We had a really good conversation afterwards. We connected. We're definitely going to meet up and talk a little bit further as well. So again, I know I'm leaving some people out. I am going to leave a link in this video. And if you're looking at the podcast notes, I'll have it there as well. Everybody that was at Podfest, as a matter of fact, I'll even leave, it's not really Podfest, it was VidFest, but I'll leave a link to the organization, to VidFest, what I attended, and all of the people that spoke, because all of them, they deserve credit. I mean, thank you guys so much for putting this on, for traveling all the way into Atlanta, for speaking. And, I have to say, I mean, I don't even know that I don't know if they got paid or not, but even if they did, I know doing those kinds of events, you got to travel, you got to take time away from your family. But they were all so generous. They not only spent time with us in the day of the show, some of them stayed a little bit later, had some conversations afterwards, and they were all so willing to just talk, to just share information about what they do and how they do it. And that was really great. So for some of these folks, I have reached out. I'm inviting them onto the podcast. I think they have some really good information to share with you guys. And you can check out their YouTube channels or their podcasts or all of it. Great folks. Highly encourage. Would I do VidFest again? Absolutely. Can't wait for it to come back to Atlanta. As a matter of fact, the Podfest, which is the big event happening in Orlando in January, I already got my ticket. Like I'm going to Orlando. So yeah, it was good. It was good. Really, really excited about that. And happy I went. I think it's gonna really improve my focus and my attention on this stuff. And it's giving me a lot to think about, give me a lot of good ideas. And by the way, ideas not just for me, but ideas that I can take into other things that I do outside of here. So thanks everybody for that. I really appreciate it. All right. So next, typically what we do is move into audience questions. There is a pending question that I have right now. So interestingly enough, because I've been putting out more video content, somebody reached out to me and said, "Hey, I think I can make your stuff better." We're still kind of going back and forth a little bit. And as I've explained to them, I don't, we're bootstrapping, organic growth, not a lot of paid stuff. This is about the journey of trying to break through when you don't have a sack ton of money to spend on this stuff. So I've mentioned to them, I said, I appreciate the offer. We still may do something small, but would you mind if I give you a shout out? And because we haven't really agreed upon that yet, I'm going to hold off on that. Suffice it to say, some really good questions have been coming through on social media platforms. I will get more into some questions that we've been getting lately, and we'll definitely cover that in the time ahead. So if you have questions about what we're doing, if there are commentary that you have about what we're doing, let me know. Shoot me a note. Would greatly appreciate it. All right, everybody. So that is all I have for you on this episode of Dist Media, a startup story. I appreciate you guys checking us out and hanging in. If you're still here, you're here to the end. I appreciate you checking us out. I want to remind you guys too, if you are interested in taking a class, a free class in social media marketing, you can do so at academy.dailypitch.news. Now, before you hop over there, what I want you to do is first go to dailypitch.news. There you will find an ad on the right-hand side of the screen. with a promo code that will allow you to take the full social media marketing class absolutely free. This is because, we're still testing things out. We're still proofing the platform, and I'm giving stuff away for now. I know we talked about paid items, and we're going to get there. We're going to make revenue. We absolutely will. But for now, go grab yourself something for free. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you have any problems with it. Earlier, I will say there were some issues with registering. I have fixed all of that. So if you went before, you got rejected, now you should be able to go through. Everything should be working fine. If you have problems, though, reach out to me. You can always reach us at podcast@distmedia.com or just reach out to me, ben@distmedia.com. Either way, I'll get the email. But thank you all again for checking this out. Thank you for hanging in. I appreciate you. We're building a community. We're getting bigger. We're getting stronger. And, you can either be one of the ones that said, hey, I was with them from the beginning, or you can be a Johnny come lately. Either way, we'll take it either way. But again, thanks you guys for checking this out. I appreciate it. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening to Disc Media, a Startup Story. This podcast was produced and edited by Ben Olmos and is a production of Disc Media Corporation. If you're interested in learning more about anything you heard on this episode, please reach out to us at podcast@distmedia.com. You can also get more information about this and other episodes or information about our guests by checking out dailypitch.news, our business and insights publication focused on helping managers, leaders, and entrepreneurs get better at what they do.